A call comes in to the dispatch center saying that there's a man trapped underneath his vehicle. Immediately, without hesitation, him and his partner, who was a deputy, responded to the house. Upon arrival, they see the man and the jack that holds up the car. Well, that gave out, and the car crushed the man. But he was living on a thread, literally, for his life. He was hanging in there. This explorer and this deputy was met by a second deputy. They got together, they rushed into action, they ran into the man's garage, they lifted the car. The explorer was able to go underneath the car, lift the jack up again so that the others can pull him out to safety. And you know what? That saved that man's life. It saved his life. If it wasn't for their actions, guess what? That man would have been dead. For a 14-year-old explorer, part of the East Palo Alto Police Department in California. A call came in at 4:35 p.m. of an altercation in progress. And this young 14-year-old was with his deputy advisor at the time, and they are responding. Code 3, lights and sirens to this altercation. Now let me tell you guys something about what our law enforcement do. They respond to calls in about less than 5 minutes. Any scenario of what could possibly go wrong goes through their head, and they're constantly training. But you know what? They have less than 5 minutes to get there. They get there, and they have to make split-second decisions. So with that being said, this two-man unit, pretty much, arrives on scene. One of the suspects who was involved in the altercation decides to run. Runs away from the cops, right? As he's running, the officer tells his explorer to stay in the vehicle. He gives pursuit to that suspect. That suspect tries to hop a fence, in which he's unable to. As he's unable to hop the fence, he decides to turn, pull out his gun, and shoot the cop dead. And that police officer died. But you know what? Seeing this, the explorer, without hesitation, got on the radio and yelled out the most chilling words an officer can hear. Officer down, officer down. And you know what? That explorer was able to give coordinates to the other responding units of how to get there. He gave them suspect information. And you know what? He did so at 14 years old. He did that without hesitation. Another. What about Explorer Cheryl Ann Horak from the Bettendorf Police Department back in Iowa? You see, Cheryl was like any other explorer. Her ambition was to be in law enforcement, to serve others, to protect others, protect families. She was with her deputy for the night, and it was a graveyard shift. They were together, and they pulled into the station. The officer had to get out of the station to write a report, quick report, less than 10 minutes. He leaves his explorer in the vehicle. Later, when you know that would be the explorer's last day, last moment. See, a deranged man approached the vehicle when the officer was in the building and the explorer was still in the passenger seat of the vehicle. A deranged man approached. Without hesitation and without warning, opens fire on the explorer, killing her instantly. He mistook her for a law enforcement officer, but you know what? She's a hero, wasn't she? She was doing something that she loved to do, which was serving the community. And she deserves an applause for that. Lastly, there was a 16-year-old explorer in California. A different scenario, but it was the same kind of call. It was a disturbance call. They're responding. They get to the scene. Upon arrival, there's 3 subjects fighting on the porch of their house. The officer, without hesitation, runs towards the crisis, like Sheriff Paul Babu said. Without hesitation, runs towards the crisis to see if he can separate and protect the parties involved. He immediately reaches for his taser. He takes out his taser, aims it at one of the subjects and hopes for them to stop. And this was after verbal commands to stop and stop fighting, in which they were, just completely not listening to him. So he pulls out his taser, aims the taser at one of the subjects, shoots it. Guess what? Malfunctions. Seeing this, they turn on the officer and they start to jump him. And you know what? Those subjects started to strangle the officer. One of them actually did. Started to strangle the officer to the point where he almost lost consciousness. Without hesitation, the explorer who was riding with him, 16 years old, decides to put his own well-being on the line. And he runs towards that officer. And you know what? He's able to yank that guy off the officer and save that officer's life. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just say something. Is that the point of those stories is not only to recognize our brave young men and women in exploring, but also is to show everyone here that you can be as young as you are right now and still be a hero. So really take that into consideration. It doesn't matter how young you are, you can accomplish anything you set your mind to. Anything you set your mind to, you can accomplish. Believe me. Okay? Lastly, I'd just like to applaud my teammates again, the advisors who have been given time, support us, along with my family, who are the unspoken heroes. They've been with me forever and have been the ones backing me 100%. But I'd just like to recognize them. But also, lastly, let's recognize you guys. You know why? Because you guys are the next generation of America. And America has hope in the next generation. So give it up for you guys.
Good job, Lorenzo. Don't push me out as being sheriff too soon, all right? I wanted it. Good job. Lorenzo, we're going to now have our last speaker, Scott Pokobin, who is the Chief Operating Officer of the Grand Canyon Council of the Boy Scouts of America, where we have our charter. So give it up for Scott.
I'm going to be really brief because, first of all, I know I've got some really tough acts to follow. So, second of all, I realize as I look at the agenda, I'm the last thing between you and getting back to the classroom, and I know how anxious you are to get back to the classroom. So, I'll be pretty brief, but actually, I just want to say on behalf of the Grand Canyon Council, congratulations to Lorenzo. Congratulations again. You know, in the Boy Scouts, and as the sheriff said, exploring is a branch of the Boy Scouts of America. In the Boy Scouts of America, we talk about how we work with America's future leaders. And this is just a prime example. You know, I just met Lorenzo this morning, but I have to tell you, you just know. You know the quality of individuals when you first get to meet them. I think a lot of times you really do get to know the quality of the individual. And I look at where Lorenzo is a year after graduating from high school, not even a year after graduating from high school, and I compare that to where I was at that same point in my life. And I had a long way to go to become the kind of young man that Lorenzo is. So again, congratulations, Lorenzo. Now, the other thing I have to say is that I think this is also a testament to the Explorer Post 1875 and the job that they do. The support we get from the Sheriff's Office and the Sheriff himself is, I have to be politically correct, because I work with all exploring units, all Boy Scout units, but the stories I hear, we have probably the best Explorer post in the country right here. And I guess I just want to end by saying that after hearing the stories this morning, I'm probably going to have to call the national president. I'm probably going to have to call the Chief Scout Executive and let them know that they're going to be hearing soon from Lorenzo to expect a phone call. So I'll share that with them. But again, on behalf of the Grand Canyon Council of Boy Scouts, congratulations, Lorenzo.
All right, well, we just want to thank you for coming out here to celebrate our local hero, Lorenzo Teruya, and to thank Poston Butte High School, because you Broncos have it happening here. We've got, this year, we had the #1 drug bust in America in Pinal County, and we've got the #1 Explorer in the country as well. We couldn't be prouder. And do we have the #1 high school in Pinal County right here? School District for their partnership and all their support, and I want to call up your principal, Dr. Papalardo. Thank you so
much. Thank you, Sheriff. Students, you've been a great audience. Lorenzo, we are very, very proud of you, and you know that. We want to see you back here if you're still in the state of Arizona for our homecoming against Combs High School on September 14th. Write that down in the calendar. That'll be great to have you here. All right, I'm going to have Mr. Decky and Mr. Goff is going to dismiss you back to class. Thank you for the great audience, everybody. Thank you very much for being here today.
Good morning, Poston Butte ID-Man here. A couple things before we leave. Number one, after hearing all these things about Lorenzo, I'm surprised he hasn't already contacted the President of the United States. And
thank you very much.
I need Rihanna Asiglia, when we leave, I need her to report to Ms. Cicero's office. Now, seniors and seniors only, I'd like you guys to head out.